Hey, shalom, hey, shalom. I want to start off source by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakadash. The belongs to the apostle of great millstone and honest, you brothers doing the work, the most in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh, that's the raw name of whom the world ignorantly calls God, Jehovah Yahweh. His raw name is Yahweh, and his son's true name is Yahweh Shai. And when we pray Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba meaning in, Ha meaning the, and Sham meaning name. So Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai. This is some commentary that I came across, and it really just underscores the the division between the Reds and the Blues in America. Also underscores the hypocrisy, right? That is blatant to see, but the majority of people, just aren't really able to see it, right? So this is from a guy, Polymath Political Math, which, if you know the word math, as Apostle went into this week, goes back to the Hebrew word amath, which means truth, right? So it says every time you see a story about how the federal government is changing their response in light of the winter surge, you need to ask, why are they doing this now instead of during the summer fall surge? My theory, and it's not flattering. Like, for instance, apparently the president yesterday said, would you call it, said that this pestilence can't be dealt with on a federal level, right? It is up to the individual states to work out how to deal with it. It goes on to say, my theory is that basically everyone working with the response at the federal level thought that the South deserved their summer surge, which ultimately we know that this man works out of ordo ab chaos, right? Create some chaos, and then from it he will rise with the solution, right? um and we're just going to see how this continues to play out next year. Whether it's a new pestilence, or whether it's a continuation, or whether it's the results from these experiments that people have taken. Okay, so it says deserve their summer surge, that it was entirely because they were too dumb to do that. So it's fine to just let them suffer. Everyone up north looked at kids in the south doing a 10-day isolation for that. It says, and basically said, F them, who gives anything about these kids, right? It says now that the thing is hitting the north, they realize that the policy response for mildly sick and thingy people is vastly worse than the disease, right? Terribly intrusive and incredibly destabilizing. And this man knows this, right? This man knows exactly what he's doing. The fact that you're gonna take people out of their their social circles, out of society, right? All that does is it actually has a negative impact on their immune system, right? I looked up some studies a while back, the effects of isolation, and also the effects of fear, both of those on the immune system. I forget how I phrased the last one. I forgot whether it was effects of fear or stress. I think it was the effects of stress on the immune system, right? And guess what? Both of those things have a negative impact. Okay. So it says, now that they have to deal with it, they've decided it's time to change it, right? It's good they're changing it, but also reveals the disdain, right, they have for their fellow citizens, right? And this is exactly what is happening in this world. This is what he is trying to foster, right? However, right, it's ultimately the will of the Lord. This is Matthew 24:12. It says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Okay, so because this world is wicked, no one quote unquote loves their neighbor. No one, which we know ultimately that's going into an Israelite. Love thy neighbors, going into your fellow Israelite. But in the way this society, that whole thing about leaving your doors open, that whole thing about borrowing sugar and this that, look, this place has gone cold, man, right? This place has gone cold, and it's going to play out more and more in these last couple of days, right? But it says it's good they're changing, but it also reveals the disdain that they have for their fellow citizens. They have no idea what is happening outside their own tiny little social enclave, and they don't want to know. They don't give a single S until it impacts them. And this is very true. It's when when you speak to these individuals, right? They believe that that their social circle, that's the end all and be all. You have this concept of an echo chamber, right, where because these people, especially these these liberals, right, these lefty liberals, man, they'll be which ultimately we know they're all part of the same machine, right? It's all the same machine. It's just this is Revelation 13:11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." When this is referring to your two-party system, right? The fact that you got your Dems and your Republicans and this, that, and the other, they're all the same. It's ultimately all the same beast. Okay, right? Which if you're in Israel, you ain't supposed to be voting for either, right? And this is just further reason why, because your vote doesn't mean anything. Okay. But yeah, these people, they've got echo chambers, man. They don't hear anything outside of their immediate circle, so they think that that is the truth, right? Which is what makes them so easy to manipulate. Okay, this is oh wait, let me just finish this real quick. It says maybe it's because of that new one, right? That is certainly the excuse they're using, but this surge started before we even knew what the new thing was. Most of the infection this month were from the previous letter, right? It says, I'm being deeply uncharitable, especially since they are doing something I agree with, that the decision making is completely opaque. They point to zero studies on how they came to this conclusion. So this is the fact that they've been cut from 10 to 5 days. It says they point to zero studies on how they came to this conclusion. So they just wave their hands and mutter the new letter, right? It says feel free to point back to this next summer when and this is actually true, because during the summer all of the people in the southern states were saying wait until the winter, wait until the winter, wait until the winter, and then the winter came and all of a sudden look what you see, right? And it is true, they just say, oh yeah, the new letter, but it's like, yo, okay. But yeah, I mean that's enough on that, man. But in there you can see this person's is trying to eloquently put just the the hate that he has for these different organizations, man, and ultimately goes back to that left or right, which is all about this division that is being fostered right now, which once again the Lord is all about that. It's Isaiah 19:2. So now set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Okay, so the the voting intentions, whether it's Republican or not, the the juice status, whether you've had it or you haven't, all of these different identity politics. That's what it's referred to. All of these identity politic points, talking points rather, right? They all come back to this whole thing about the Egyptian against the Egyptian, right? Which modern day Egypt is America, okay? And that's gonna basically boil over into these wars, not wars. Let me not phrase it that way, but into these different, skirmishes that you're gonna be seeing. One against the one. What am I saying? You're gonna be seeing between the people, right? Where is Isaiah 13? Also 14. Right, so Isaiah 13:14 says, and it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Right? And it's people who you look like, people who agree with, your talking points, like right now, over was the end of last year, beginning of this year. Right, you had those that are taking the juice, basically saying I don't want to identify, be around anyone who hasn't. Right, everyone's turning to whoever it is that they agree with. right? And all of these different fractures, because even in then, right, you may have a Jacob in that midst of this, that, and the other, but those E's that are in that group, they're gonna still be looking at that guy like you ain't really one of us, okay? Right? So hey, this whole thing, man, right, you gotta give it, to the Most High who created this devil to create a plan that has worked so well in in dividing people so so nicely, man. Okay, because once again, it's something I quote a lot, right? But you had that Sun Shu, that Chinese warrior, I believe is warrior anyway, right? He basically made the statement: if your enemy is united, divide them, right? And it goes back to that age-old divide and conquer. This is Matthew 12:25. It says, and Yahweh Shai knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Right? And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then shall his kingdom stand? Okay, once again, that's what you're seeing with this man's kingdom. It is being divided and it is falling at the same time it is being divided. He thinks that he's going to make a way where things end up being good for him, but that is just not the case, right? And yeah, I mean, that looks like that's all I had. But yeah, man, as always, that was edifying. Till next time, we say shalom.